And we're live. What is up, everybody? It is your girl, Martha D. Staub, owner of MDMC Entertainment.
And I'm Mark. I'm the Albuquerque half of the operation. How's it going?
It's going good. I think, I had a thought, Mark. I said, we've been doing this for about now 6-7 weeks now, and we're starting to see some return. We're starting to see people are inquiring about us and how savvy we are, right?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I'm really excited because, mostly, you sit here and I know I'm like, man, is anyone ever going to watch us? And we get some love here and there. Actually, we're going to start sharing our stuff everywhere. LinkedIn, I swear, I think I need to write to LinkedIn or something and tell them that I'm worthy of being shared online live.
Right. And that was one of the things I was looking at too, is that, all the stuff that, we're trying to share. I mean, I've already shared a lot of this stuff, even prior to this, so that way we can, get people watching. I mean, I shared it to LinkedIn and, a couple other places, and, maybe, if we promote it, they will come.
I agree. I think we're dope. Hold on a second. Okay. I'm going to share this onto the LinkedIn page as well. Sorry, guys. We're going to give people time to get in here. And, oops, that's not my account. When you're a marketer, you are mostly logged into other accounts that do not belong to you. That is the truth of. I was in a meeting the other day, and I was sharing my screen. I was like, "Oh, let me share this real quick. Let me show you what I'm doing." And I pulled up the wrong account. I was like, "Oops, this isn't yours." Someone else's. Let's see, episode 6. We are live. I'm gonna put this on LinkedIn. And then let me put this on the MDMC account. I'm really excited. LinkedIn finally allowed us to invite people to like our company pages. So we just hit 100 followers on LinkedIn today. I'm really excited about it.
Yeah, I actually just saw that. Yeah, and I was like, hey, cool. At least we're getting, people like, they like us. I mean,
yeah. Well, I think also the content's been really good. I think, last week we shared how the Instagram algorithm worked, and we did that little video about how to make a logo, which I will continue working on this week. It's actually a series of what I'm planning on doing with those videos is taking it into we made a logo. Now we're going to create a business out of it and, do all those, add those elements that you need to add to create your presence. So it's in the works. Okay, but let me start off by saying that yesterday on the MDMC account, my personal accounts, myself and 1DR Productions, if you don't know who 1DR Productions is, it is headed by Brendan Brazier. He is an animator. He worked at Warner Brothers and is now working at Masterclass. Definitely one of the coolest people I know, hands down. And he did the documentary on Roger Velasco called The Southgate Ranger. And after I met him when he did that, a couple months later, he ended up doing the documentary on Paramorphicon called Protectors of the Power. It's a 3-episode series. And Brendan has been a diehard Power Ranger fan for years. And on my birthday, I remember this, I spent my birthday with Brendan. A couple years ago, he's like, hey, come to Warner Brothers and I'll take you around. And I was like, all right, so and he's like, here, let me get you a pass, let me get you a, parking and everything. And literally it was the off the beaten trail of the tour that I paid for a while back that he took me we passed by Clint Eastwood's office on Warner Brothers lot. I was like, oh shit, he's probably in there. But the whole bit. So Brendan and I have been really good friends. We've teamed up on a new project. He actually wrote a screenplay for an untitled, unproduced Power Ranger reunion of some sorts. And it takes you back to the present day. And I won't go too deep into it, but Brendan and I have been talking about creating content for each other, and I told him I'm doing this show and I'm doing a little bit of other things for the YouTube channel, and he's working on content for 1DR Productions, and he says, I think it'd be a really great idea if we let this screenplay come out. Let's get voice actors or people that are aspiring to be voice actors to come and do this. And I was like, yeah, this is a cool idea. So last night I was making a graphic and everything for it. And so he's actually going to produce a video today on how to apply to be in this thing and what you need to do, because eventually we're going to get this. This is going to go live within the next couple of weeks, but it's a great story. On my birthday, I think it was like 2018. 18? Yeah. We're standing on the Warner Brothers lot. He had a 2-hour lunch and he told me this story, and I was like, this is too good to be true. And he said, I actually had the original cast. I pitched it to them. They all loved it. And so they all went to Saban. Brendan made it to the Saban headquarters and pitched it, and Saban didn't want it. And after I had heard that story, I remember I was working a really shitty job. I was a good job at the time, but since then it's been shitty. In my mind, it's shitty. But I remember on my lunch break, I was going through LinkedIn and I was like, we got to find someone at Hasbro because, obviously the power has shifted. And I said, we got to find someone at Hasbro to listen to this pitch. And I went through and I looked and I said, yo, Brendan, this guy works at Warner Brothers and Hasbro, and he works in your department. And he was like, well, who is it? And he's like, oh my God, I know that guy. I'll be right back. And so that guy, I led him to the right guy to get us the appointment at Hasbro. And then the week of Power Morphicon 2018, Hasbro canceled the appointment. And I was like, well, that sucks. I was like, what are we supposed to do now? Like, I was fully invested in this. I didn't even ask to be invested. I invested myself into it, and Brendan just complied. So, it's like, what, now it's been a couple years, what, let's release it. So, so we'll have Brendan's video on how to apply to get into one of these coveted roles on this animated series. It's going to be exciting.
Well, and that's the big thing. I mean, a lot of people actually, it's the product itself that actually a lot of people are very interested in. I mean,
yeah, it's just, when I heard the story, I was just baffled that you had the support of the cast that was willing to come back and do it. And this storyline is present day. So it's like, it's not back in time. It's not like nothing's changed. It's what would have happened had those Rangers grown and are living in today's modern time. And yeah, I'm not going to go into it. It's just a fantastic story. I was just like, we got to get this made. Where do we go? Who do we talk to? Like, I just full on was invested. And yeah, it's just a great, and I'm really glad that it's going to be done in this manner. So yeah, I'm for it. I'm excited.
Well, and that sounds like it's going to be a lot of fun for those who definitely follow the Ranger sphere.
So
and,
sorry, I said, so this is a great way for MDMC to stay in the entertainment sector. Due to COVID, usually we're traveling, we're doing shows, we're doing all kinds of things, but because, and this is, we'll get into this next week on how to find that business type to grow your business, is that, we're very fortunate that we didn't pigeonhole ourselves in one area of business, that we're able to do multiple things and be very versatile. So even though COVID knocked us off the entertainment path, we can still do these other little projects to keep us in that realm. And Brendan just comes to me because he's like, everybody. And I was like, I don't know if I know everybody, but I can surely help in some form or fashion. So, that's the power of networking.
Yeah, and that's the biggest thing, is that, basically building a business isn't necessarily just the marketing aspect. It's a matter of, what who you know,
How do you utilize it?
Right, and how, exactly how to utilize it. I mean, it's a business that you end up having. Um, it's a business that we need to be able to sit there and say to people, "Hey, this is what can be done, and this is legitimately what it's really going to cost you."
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it goes back to an example of a potential client that we've been working with over the last week.
We've been busy.
What?
I said we've been busy.
Yes, we have. Just trying to figure out what to, get this particular potential client on board. They, the type of business they are, they have a lot of potential, especially in this economy.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing is that, we, both of us went up and down their stuff, and we're like, okay, this is what we can do to prove it.
Right. There's so much. It's those projects are always exciting. I love it when someone says, "I'd like to work with you. What can you do?" And you're like, "Oh," it's like a crowbar it's like cracking into a case with a crowbar. It's like, "All right, let's see what we can do." And I love that. That's the exciting part of this. I'm very fortunate for the clients we do have, because we do have a lot of referrals. And I think I was talking to. Ironically, I pitched a proposal to somebody a year ago, and they were like, "Yeah, let me get to it." And this was a friend of a friend. And the other day, I was like, "Yo, I've never heard from your friend," because we cross-marketed a post on a client of mine's account. And I was like, "Yo, I never even heard from this guy. Is he still wanting to work with me?" He's like, "Yeah, he's always busy." And this guy builds businesses, like a lot of businesses, and they're all very successful. And I'm like, "Well, how's this dude still keeping, how's he keeping business rolling? Because you have no presence." And he's like, "Oh, no, he knows a ton of people, so the word of mouth keeps him busy. But now he needs this focused on." And out of nowhere, I think yesterday from 2 o'clock to 4 o'clock, I had a span of 6 phone calls from 6 different people about 6 different things. And one of them was, my friend was like, "Hey, I have this guy on the line. I'm gonna do a 3-way call, and we're gonna talk." And I was like, "Okay." So I was unprepared or anything, but I'm like, "Hey, yo, what's up? How are you doing? I sent you over." And the reason I actually sent over a proposal, because I had sent it over a couple weeks ago when my client told me, "Hey, send it." I didn't hear back from him. He's like, "Oh, let me look at it. I'll come back to you." Didn't hear about it. I was like, "Yeah, I'm going to throw this into the dead pile if you're not going to do anything." And because I didn't mean to threaten. I'm like, I need to move on, because, I've got other things that we've got in the pipe.
Yep.
And he's like, "Oh my God, no, stop. I really need your help." And I'm like, "Okay, we need to get on. What do you need?" And so we had that conversation yesterday. So it was really promising. So I was like, "Man, I could score 2 deals in a month. That'd be pretty cool." So we'll see. But, it's about being consistent and opening up those communications and really, showing that you care. I think one of the things that I have noticed in the past is that people are so icy about making money. A lot of people are, "Oh, hi, Lewis. I love you too." A lot of people are so into making the money factor. Like, "Oh, I got to make 10K a month to do this." And so they don't really care when they pitch to whoever about what their product is. We legitimately take the time to care, to look at it, to be responsive, to really dive in and really give a truthful examination of what people, because we don't gouge. We definitely do not gouge our prices. I think we're pretty fair on our prices. And so yeah, that went off on a tangent, but that's what we've been up to.
Oh, hey, Lewis said hi to me. Hey, what's up, dude?
All right, I'm waiting for the New York crew. If you don't know who Lewis is part of MDMC East. He's out in New York. I have tasked him to start passing out our flyers out in New York. I had a lot of things planned for New York. I was actually supposed to be at a con in New York this month, but it canceled. I was going to have the New York boys, Eddie and Lewis, sit at a table at a con and we were going to do the MDMC presence at some of these cons, and that failed. But Lewis is driving around, and I was like, start handing out those cards, start handing out those flyers, and he's working on a video reel for me for New York, if he didn't forget. So we have a really strong presence there. So I'm really excited to eventually, once these guys get haircuts, and Lewis, fun fact about Lewis, he worked at a clinic, and very top-notch celebrities would come through. So he got to see these people, and I was like, are you freaking kidding me? Everyone lives in Brooklyn, I guess. All the celebrities live in Brooklyn. But I put some at the hospital at my job. Awesome. Thank you. But yeah, let's get to the topic at hand. We're going to really dive into a tough one. It's not really tough, but it's, I think, Mark, I don't know if you've been affected by this or not, but why isn't that marketing and public relations fall flat in company budgets? I can tell you right off the bat. Most companies are successful are usually ran by older people. And so usually owned by baby boomers. I don't know if you've noticed this, Mark, but oh, great. I have a great story. Speaking of baby boomers. But this ties into my personal experience of doing this. I walked into a company, and I had this 2-hour interview with my now past mentor. He and I just sat there and talked shop for 2 hours during my interview. And I was really pumped and excited. So when I got the job, I was brought in, and the girl I was replacing was like, oh, marketing's a joke. There's nothing to do here. I send out these mailers at the beginning of the week, and I'm bored the rest of the time. Like, literally, I'm on the computer all the time. And I'm like, what do you mean? What are you doing? Like, are you doing the social media? Nope, I don't do that. I'm like, what? And I was like, you've got to be kidding me that you don't do anything. She's like, nope, this job is cake. And I was like, okay. And then the second she left, my mentor's like, all right, down to business. This is what we're going to do. And we got to work. And I think the reason, and because that first year of me working at that job was really hard, but I think it was the objective was to prove the point that marketing was very needed in this company because it was ran by an older generation.
Correct.
And so, my boss would always push me, hey, did you do this? Hey, did you do that? We need to come up with new ways for exposure. So I did a lot of public relations at that point. I was reaching out to a lot of glossy magazines to feature our work. And I was really pushing and pushing and pushing. And it got to a point where, later on after my mentor, towards the end of his time working there, he's like, I had to push you because, there was a constant threat of letting you go because the company didn't believe we needed a marketing department. And it wasn't until I started delivering results by making sales easier for the sales team, for generating sales monthly, and also getting the people that worked on these projects notoriety and accolades. And when I accomplished that, everyone's like, wow, I guess we do need a marketing department. And we would do these very in-depth marketing meetings. And I still work with someone from that timeline today. And so our marketing meetings at that company would go on from anywhere between 2 to 5 hours. We would dive into everything. And let me tell you, I used to hate sitting in those marketing meetings on a Friday afternoon or a Friday morning, but it was just so jam-packed with nutrition that's how I got to be so good. And I a Friday rolls around and I'm like, man, I miss those meetings. And I tried to do that same mentality to the next company I went to, but they weren't having it. But I remember sitting in one of those meetings, and the owner of the company came in. And so we're talking about Google Analytics. We're talking about SEO. We're talking about what things are producing, really in-depth technical things. The owner out of nowhere says, are we posting to Facebook? And we're like, the fuck? What? We're talking about SEO right now. Yeah, we post to Facebook. Motherfucker. Like, get back to it. And I think at that point he was like, I don't want to be in these meetings very long. This is just too over my head. But that was the point. And I think I think the owner was like, I don't care. We're making $1 million a month. I don't freaking care. Just keep doing what you're doing. And I was like, all right. I was like, at that point I had my little army of interns and stuff. But I think the reason is that most companies don't pad their marketing or their public relations is, one, they're too busy focused on operations. They probably have a lot of referral traffic coming through that keeps them busy. And they're like, we can't afford any more business. And then to get more business costs more money. And it is true. It is a lot harder to recruit a brand new lead than it is to get a referral. See how much business has come through my way? It has not been out of a fresh, brand new lead on its own. It came in through a branch of some sort as a referral. So I think a lot of businesses, especially in this day and age, are owned by older people that don't understand that it takes more than a Facebook page to make marketing things happen.
Correct. That's absolutely right. I mean, these are discussions I've had with a certain client that that you know about, but we'll go nameless.
Of course, we're not going to shame anybody. We're here to educate people.
And the thing is that the industry that they're in has taken a humongous hit. But the thing is that they realize that continuing their social media presence, which I'm very grateful for, they realize that by doing what you're doing, but by doing what they're doing, they can then realize that they need to keep something going because it's where their industry is going. Because their industry is very video and picture based. Mm-hmm. It is not text based at all.
Right. I think definitely the tech part goes over their head.
Well, right. And the thing is that a lot of people, for example, will not necessarily do what they need to do. I mean, a lot of people, I had one particular person tell me one time, I said social media is a tool. And then the person quipped back at me, and this is the best quip I've ever heard, so is a broom.
Oh, okay.
And I just went, oh, no. It was impressive, to say the least. The fact that it really worked the way it did. Let me take my glasses off. Well, no, I'm noticing this horrible thing in them. But then again, if I take my glasses off, I'm not going to see the screen. But no, seriously though, in all reality, the fact that people realize that there's a business, this particular industry is very visual based, like I've said.
Yeah.
But the thing is that people, it goes back to who the clientele is. In this case, it's more baby boomers and those who are retired and those who have expendable income to go travel. And the thing is that the business itself, as we know, that industry has taken such just an absolute torpedo hit.
Right.
To give you an example, I just read about United Airlines basically hacking half of its workforce at the first part of October.
Right.
And I'm going but that means not enough flights to fly anywhere. But then again, with everything the way it's going on right now, the thing is that the aviation industry is having the same problem all across the board because a lot of people are realizing that,
yes, the economy is where it is. And when the economy is where it is, the first thing that people like to cut is marketing and PR budgets.
I
And
mean,
I think that is the whole point of this episode, is the fact that people realize that, oh, it's just fat on the budget. Let's just cut it.
Yeah, and I don't think a lot of people truly understand the work that goes behind the marketing aspect of things. I mean, this is not the first time I've had a boss or the owner of the company say, "Hey, will you do me a favor?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And they said, "I want a daily log of what you do every day so I can understand what you do for your job." And I'm like, "Are you serious?" And like, I got that at the first company I was working with my mentor. And he was like, "Well, you better pad it with everything that you do and make it complicated so that they don't understand what the hell you're talking about." Because because my mentor was, I don't know how many times, I always tell you, everywhere I've gone, I've always had an angel of some sort watching over me, whether that was Patty Dobson in college or it was my wonderful mentor at my next job. But he said, he's looking to cut budgets. I need you to show that you are as valuable as anything. Because at that point, at that specific job, we were in a building and it was divided into 3 suites. So one company had suite A, we had suite B, and it was the largest suite out of the 3. And then the end suite was another business. And it had 2 offices and a conference room. Well, at that point, it was a showroom. And when the people in Suite C decided to leave, I told my boss, I said, "You know how cool that would be if I were just to move into that suite right there?" And I said, and he was like, "Really?" And I said, "Yes, I want this office and I want that conference room, and this office can be for whoever. And, this will be the marketing department. Let's put it on the glass door, do the whole bit." And my boss liked the idea. He was like, "Yeah, you guys need your own conference room. You need your own whiteboard. You're getting more interns." So he ran with it. I kid you not, I got it. I was the only person, because these offices were designed to, the main core of the offices didn't have windows to the outside world. The only ones that did were the upstairs office, and the owner had the view. And the upstairs was not an office suite yet. Like, there was just a big conference room up there too, but no, it wasn't as big. And so the owner was the only one that had a view to the outside. And so I kind of pushed this idea. I was like, my team needs a bigger place. And I got it. I ended up moving into this new office with a window right next to the door so I can see who's coming and going. I was happier. I was more productive. I got to pick the paint colors for the office. I was the envy of that entire freaking place. And I know one of my friends was like, "Well, you got the best view in the whole place." I was like, "Yeah, no, work for it." And she's like, "What do you mean you work for it?" I said, "Excuse me, do you not see the millions of dollars that are coming through this company every month?" Because at that point, that company was only making $400,000-$500,000 a month. When I got there and we started, making these systems happen, there was $1 million months every month. It didn't fall short. I know in the summer months, it even got up to 2 million. And the company was just like, "We have so much work on our hands, we don't know what to do." So that was actually the saving grace, was that the owner was so busy worried about operations. And he's like, "How are we going to get to these jobs? How are we going to get them done?" And was a great problem for us. We're like, keep doing it. And I remember 2 months after I moved into that suite, the owner says, "Hey, I need to know what you do every day." I said, "What do you mean?" He says, "I want a daily log of what you do every hour on the hour, and I want you to turn it in on Friday." And I was like, "All right, fine." And I did it. And my boss was like, "He's wanting to cut." I said, "Why? How in the hell do you expect to cut people when we're making millions? I mean, we're going to break records this year. What do you mean he wants to cut it?" He's like, "I don't know what the deal is, but just prepare." And I was like, damn it. Okay. And so it was really sad, though, because I remember I actually started that job at $32,000 an hour, or $32,000 a year, sorry. And then when I bumped up when I bumped up from coordinator to manager, I made about 45. And, you know, in my third year, I wanted to bump up again. And I was like, I can't live off of 45 a year. I need to, it's California. And so I had gone to, because I had, in my mind, I had said, I am this good at what I do. I should be making six figures by the time I'm 32. I'm now 33. I'm not making six figures yet. Close, but not there yet. And I had gone to the owner. My mentor had since retired. My mentor was furious at the owner, just the way he was treating him. And he's like, you know what, I'm out. I'm going to go do my own thing. And I said, all right. And I actually worked for him after I did some stuff on the side for free for him to get my exposure even better, because, working with him made me a better marketer. So I wanted to hold on to him as hard as I could. And I was devastated. I posted a picture on my birthday. He passed away on my birthday. And so it was of his retirement party. And I remember just being so sad at his retirement party. I was like, I think I was the only one crying. I was like, this is ridiculous. I have to fend for myself now. I had no more protection. And I went to the owner and I said, look, I'm going to continue bringing in these millions of dollars with or without my leader. Mm-hmm. I need a raise. And I went, he's like, well, bring me some market research. How much are people making in your area of expertise and everything? And we'll look at it. And I said, all right. I was pitching for $60,000. That was ambitious for a third year marketing manager. And it was 2015 or something. And I said, you know what? I'm going to do it. We're going to get it. And so I brought in the research and everything. I sat there and pitched it to the owner. And he was like, yeah, I don't see the budget for paying you more. And I said, what the hell do you mean? I'm bringing in $1 million a month. What do you mean? He's like, well, we got overhead here, here, and here. I can't pay you as much as like a 20-year guy that's in the back. And I said, yeah, but they're not bringing in millions of dollars. They're building it, but they're not bringing it in. This is all new business. And he says, yeah, I'm not going to do it. Sorry. And I was like, all right, double fingers up. I was like, whatever, I'm done. And at that point, an opportunity came with a competitor that was going to pay me a little more than what I was asking this owner. So it was a substantial bump up. I was like, oh, I'm out. And I'll never forget. And I hope to God I win an award somewhere one of these days where I can blast this dude. But, and it's really funny. It's funny how time works. But I was in my office. The owner, out of spite, moved his top dude, one of his top project managers, into my old office in my suite. And I was like, what is project management doing in here? And then, like, this is his office. He's the lead guy. And I said, yeah, but he needs to be in the bullpen on the back. What is he doing in my suite? And he's like, this ain't your suite anymore, honey. I'm putting in a project manager. I was like, oh, fuck you, dude. And I was like, man, this is it was out of spite. It was awful. And so I had the marketing. So I was like, you know what? We're going to turn up the music. Interns, turn up your music. Like, we're a fun section. We don't need this negativity here. And I remember my friend of mine who I work with now with another company, who's now my client. One weekend we were talking about our weekends. How did everything go? What were you working on? And I was like, oh no, I went to LA Comic-Con. At that time I was pitching a indie project I was marketing with a couple of Star Trek actors. And she was telling me that, she's like, man, in 5 years I want to be, in Colorado working on my own, which ironically she's doing now. She sold her company to a bigger company. So she's doing well for herself. And she gave me some opportunities that we're working on right now with MDMC. So I'm really thrilled. And I was like, man, I'm going to figure out in 5 years, I'm going to figure out how I can go to Comic-Cons every weekend and make some money. Because, I had such a big blast and everything. And, this douchebag was next door listening to this conversation. And we weren't saying anything bad. Like, we weren't, but the owner grabbed that opportunity and was like, hey, I heard you were talking shit about my company. I said, I wasn't. And they're like, well, why are you and Mara planning on leaving? And I was like, what do you mean? We're not planning on leaving. We're talking about in 5 years. Don't you have a 5-year plan, sir? And he said, you know what, you in this Comic-Con business, you need to grow up. You'll never make it doing what you want to do. You're never going to make it. I said, really? Well, that's your opinion. But as far as I'm concerned, you have a nice house and your shit is paid off because I'm bringing you millions and millions of dollars a year. What is wrong with you? And I remember I was yelling and crying. And I was like, no one's going to talk to me like that. I am going to make it. And that threw me into like, I just can't understand mentality wise. I think these old people don't understand how a young person with this type of skill set can do that to people. You know, it's just weird. I think it baffles these people. And that's one of the reasons why their budgets don't get padded.
Well, and that's exactly right. I mean, a lot of people, the thing is that they think it's fat on a budget. But the thing is that, and a lot of people look at the idea of ROI.
Mm-hmm. What's the ROI?
Return on investment.
Right.
And the thing is that by having that return on investment, I mean, the thing is that it can be hard to gauge if you're not, assessing it correctly, keeping valid track of, for example, someone calls in and says, did you do X, Y, and Z? And I've said to a client before, you have to track this.
Right.
Is it Facebook? Is it Instagram? Is it Twitter? Is it the glossy magazine that they like to advertise in?
Right.
Which I mean, but all of those, basically all those avenues I just listed are exactly what their demographic is. Because this particular glossy magazine and is catered to people who make money.
Right. And, that's one of the things that was successful with that company I was at, was because no one was really tracking where phone calls were coming in. No one was saying, hey, how'd you hear about us? And I was like, because, my boss decided, hey, you should make some Excel reports. And, we need to know where all of these are coming from so we can, it was the proof. We had to keep proving ourselves to the owner that the efforts were being validated. So we pissed off the girls in the front, the receptionists, because they were like, we don't want to be tracking all this. I'm like, I don't care what you don't want to do. If you don't want to do it, get out. We can find someone else to do it. But we need to know where these people are coming from, what they're doing, and how they're doing it. So we've implemented, there's a really great tool out there. I'm not sure how much it is a month, but it's called CallRail. So what it does generates phone numbers that you can put on specific marketing pieces. So then that way, those calls are recorded and we know. So when the receptionist picks it up, it says call from Angie's List, call from House, call from Google. And then they know. And so then when they write it down on their lead sheet and I get it on my end, I'm like, all right, it came from Google. And so when we started doing that, people were pissed. They're like, I don't want my phone calls recorded, which opened up another can of worms, because then I started to hear salespeople completely botch the sale. And this is where I was a little bit more, my boss, let me tell you, he really gave me full reign power. It was great. So I would listen to these phone calls and I was like, this salesperson just botched it. What he said was like, how much money do you want to throw to this project? And I'm like, that's the first question out the gate, really? And this guy was he just wanted a really big, amazing project to put under his name. And I'm just like, that's not how you do it. So I had to go over there. Like after the phone call was over, the person didn't want to deal with him. Like his attitude was negative. I had to call that lead back and I'm like, look, I'm sorry about your phone call, ma'am. Do you want to work with somebody else? She's like, yeah, someone who wants to value me. And I said, no problem. I'll give you here. And then I had to go talk to that salesperson. I'm like, hey, what happened with that call? Oh, they don't want to spend any money. I said, that's not true. And I played the conversation back for them. And they're like, oh, and I said, you're lucky I saved that. That turned out to be a $70,000 job and it went to this guy. Good job. And he was like, oh. And so then that started the whole thing of, well, you don't trust us. I'm like, no, you're letting money fall through. You're leaving money on the table. You're not treating these correctly. And that's the thing, is that that was the constant struggle, was like, yes, sales was really happy. They were making money. And they would complain to the owner, oh, but they're so in our lives with this stuff. But then at the same time, it's like, but we're making a lot of money. So that constant push and pull, like sales versus marketing is a thing that's going to always exist. Point blank. It's just, they're never going to sing in harmony.
Correct.
It's just, and it sucks because for as much money as I made these people individually, because they got a really great cut out of it, they just hated the fact that we were so intertwined. And, you know, again, but we were still proving our point was that our efforts are validated. Our efforts are true. And it is worth the budget that you carve out of your budgeting. Because I know, you know, it's usually October timeframe. People start thinking about the new year and where they're going to budget, what they're going to do. And, you know, I can't ever understand why and you know, I always thought, well, maybe I'm just not doing my job right, or maybe it's just, that's not true. I made people millions of dollars. Even the next company I went to, I made them millions of dollars too. And, you know.
And the fun thing is that you're not sitting here, you know, tooting your own horn. You actually did it.
No, I did. That's one thing I hate about, and this is where I learned this down the line with the last job I had. These people would get on YouTube or Instagram or wherever and say, I made $50,000 today and this is how I did it. And I'm like, no, you didn't. I'm sitting here like, no, you didn't. And I'm like, I don't want to talk figures. I don't want people to know how much I'm making. Like, I don't care about that. That is not the social proof that I need to prove that I'm good at what I do. The social proof is what my other clients are saying about me. I could provide a list of clients of like, hey, you can call any of these people. They've agreed to let me share your phone number. Go talk to them. See what I've done for them. I'm not all about the flashiness of saying how much money I've made in a year or how much I'm making monthly. Forget that. And if you're going to hire a company that does that, get ready to lose your money because it's all fluff. You have to prove you do.
You know, it basically, it comes down to the old fashioned saying of put your money where your mouth is.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of like, it goes back to the proposal we were working on this week.
Right.
You know, we really sat there and you and I went back and forth.
Did.
You know, about, you know, where I started it and you kind of just beefed it up a little bit.
Yeah.
And, you know, the thing is that when I went back and I read over it, I'm going like, can't disagree. It's pretty much right.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think especially in things like that, because, you know, when you have two people sitting in a meeting, in a discovery meeting, you know, obviously one's taking notes and one is paying attention. And I was taking notes too, but there are things you caught that I was not really thinking about. And so I was like, all right, let's get this proposal together. And I'm like, shoot out what you have. Let me shoot out what I have. And then just by us talking, we were like, oh, we should add this or we should add that. We didn't even think about that. And then I'm over here adding this stuff. Partner in crime, he makes the running joke of, hey, how much money did you make me today? I was like, oh, fuck off, dude. I'm the owner of this company. You go over there. And because that's not what it's about. It's about working with people that I love. I mean, but anyway, he said, well, I'm listening to all what you're saying. And he says, you're lowballing yourself again. Get it back up to where you think it's going to cost you. And I was like, all right. And then you were like, hey, you bumped it up. I was like, yeah. So, yeah, I mean, I think sometimes it takes, as much as he's not involved right now because the Comic-Con scene is dead, he's still an integral part of the thinking process. Because he sits here and he looks at what I do every day. He's like, you do a lot more than what you give yourself credit for. So,
and that is true. You do. I mean, the thing is that when you started MDMC, you know, I sat and I watched, and it was just one of those things where you did put your money where your mouth was.
Yeah.
And that's the biggest thing is that you were able to sit there and be like, hey, you know, this is what X, Y, and Z needs to be.
Right.
And the thing is that you have that proof.
Yeah.
And the thing is that's what helps. And it gets back to our original topic of the fact that, you know, you have the numbers to back in order to sit there and show people, you know what, this is what needs to be done.
Yeah.
And the thing is that by doing that, you know, you have, you know, you have the idea that it, you know, what we do is not fat on a company budget. I mean, the thing is that we try to operate. I mean, even when I owned my own company, you know, you try to keep it as lean as possible.
Right.
But the thing is you try not to cut your own throat.
Exactly. I think a lot of people don't understand that either. You still gotta get fed.
You know, you got to pay your expenses. You've got to pay, you know, after your expenses, what your profit is, and then your taxes. Speaking. Oh no! Trust me, I've got my taxes. I got to file here in about a week or so.
Oh my God! I owe so much money to taxes. It's not even funny.
But the thing is that's the nice part about it. It's you owe money to you owe money to your state. It's a matter of what you can actually do. You know, it tells you you're being successful.
Well, I mean, last year was a really crap year. You know, last year I was unemployed for 10 months of it. You know, so it was you know, I thought the state would give me a little bit of a break, but I still owe them a couple $100. I'm just like, God, I hate you guys. But I live in a really great state. Tax wise, I wouldn't recommend starting a business here because it's just too expensive. Because now, you know, when we got our business papers, I'm like, oh man, I got to pay taxes 4 times a year. Are you insane? And then I'm like, you know, and I think my tax guy was like, you have to, you know, I have not been doing this. This is bad. But I have to start cutting out parts of my budget, like, I mean, parts of my profit so I can just pay the taxes. And I think that's a really great topic for later. But, you know, I think overall, when it comes to budgeting, it's just so important. I know the next job I had after working with this awful owner, I went to another company and, you know, I came in guns blazing. I'm like, all right, we're going to do this, 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 and this. And I had someone above me that held the job title I had at my old company. And they were like, no. You're not going to do any of that. And then what happened there was that the owner's spouse was the marketing person. And I'm like,
and that's where your mistake is. The thing is that you when you run a company like that, the thing is that you need that fresh set of eyes that doesn't have basically both hands in the pot.
No, this person's hands was in every pot. This is the downfall. Oh, let me give you an update on the last company, with the really bad owner that told me to grow up. I departed that company. They hired a public relations person to come in and fill my spot. That person didn't know marketing and it tanked the company. It ended up forcing that owner to sell their company to another man. And so that guy just washed his hands with it. He's like, I'm done. It wasn't making as much money as it was. I think it slipped back down to $500,000 a month after I left. And then it forced him to sell because he was like, I better sell it now, get my money's worth before it completely tanks. And I know now, I know someone who works there now. I don't really ask about any of that because I don't care, but they're not as great as they used to be. It's a proof in the pudding. I'm like, yeah, look at them now. They suck. But when I went on to the next company where I thought was a smart move at the time because it was way more money, but it was way less possibilities. And when you own a family-owned business, it's not smart to add your whole family into the pot. It's not, because some of these people are stupid. They don't know what they're doing. They have no experience in the field. And that was my problem, was I was constantly fighting with the person above me to prove my point that, hey, this is going to work. And then what was ended up happening was I would show them how to do it. And so I was padding my day with more things, because I think at the end of that job, I was only doing social media. And I was like, this is ridiculous. Like, I need to do more things, but they wouldn't let me. And I was like, this is where, and like Mark says, just let Martha do what Martha can do. These people wouldn't do it. They wouldn't let me run free. And so, you know, and I don't know how that business is doing now. I don't think they're doing as great as they were when I was there. But, you know, it's one of those things that family-owned businesses are just, they're crap shows if you don't know how to manage them correctly. And I don't think you need to have your whole entire family there, because they don't have that experience.
Yeah, I mean, unless they've gone to school for X, Y, and Z,
yeah,
you know, they don't need that there.
Right. And especially the person I was working above, like that person didn't know anything. That's why I was there, you know, and, you know, I was there for a good couple years, and they took what they could. Like, they literally extracted what I did and my methodology. And then they were like, all right, we're good to go. We're going to do it ourselves. And they're not doing so great. It's funny. It's just, I love the fact that companies I put my heart and soul into, and they were thriving. And it kind of kills me, because I look back on them now and I'm like, you guys, you killed it. Like, you could be sitting, like, just all the money you guys just lost doing all that. Like, it hurts my soul a little, you know. It's like, man, you guys were the greatest thing in San Diego, and now no one knows who you are. That's insane. But that's proof to me, because I'm like, you know what, I'm a badass. Told you.
Well, and the thing is that, like I've said, you know, like I'll reiterate, you're not sitting here being cocky.
Mm-mm.
I mean,
but I'm not more like that.
You know, you've actually been there and done that. You know, when you sit there and, I mean, you've told me the numbers.
Yeah.
And you know, and I would have called out your BS a long time ago if I thought you were BSing. But the thing is that I mean, half the time, you know, it's kind of like with the proposal, for example. You know, we sit there and we went back and forth on it, and I go, and then you send me the final copy, and I review it, and I go, and I take it point by point, and I'm like, you know what? I was like, I can't disagree, because she's right.
Right.
You know, and that's the biggest thing, is that when we come to the table with something, you know, we're really coming to the table with, you know, a big meaty bone, where we're going like, okay, let's eat this.
Right. And I think that's the thing, is that when I've seen too many people, and then we have this topic in the pipe, but I have seen a lot of people on Instagram, or, you know, these Facebook groups that are like, I want to be an entrepreneur, but I don't know how, and I don't know where to go. And we'll talk about that next week. But the thing is that most people that go into business go in with a fresh new idea, and they hope it just sticks. You know, whatever they throw on the wall, they hope it sticks. Us, you know, going full time with this, it came from years of experience. And it came from, you know, trial and error. So, and, you know, I think the stakes are a little bit higher. I was having this conversation with one of my clients who's also an entrepreneur, and he's an actor as well. And I said, you know, we haven't had a chance to actually talk. He's been busy as much as I have. And I said, you know, I am so happy I went this route. I am just so thrilled. And he's like, man, I know how good you are. I will give you all the business in the world you want. You tell me what you need, I'll give it to you. I will tell everyone how great you are, what you've done for me, how you've changed my business. I will, you know, and so that's really a nice little card to have in your pocket. But I'm like, you know, yes, I work a lot more, but I am far more happier working in my own house, doing my own thing. I have a routine, and I work with clients that I like. I'm working on projects I like. And it's not where you're pigeon-toed in a job, a 9 to 5, where you're just hating life. I mean, there was a good time in the past couple jobs I had where I was just hating life. I was like, I was fortunate for the opportunity, but I'm like, man, I wish I could work for myself. Like, I wish I could, and I would spout, and I was telling somebody, I don't know if that was you or who I was talking to. No, I was talking to my life coach. I call him my life coach. He's my best friend. His name's Dion. I met him through the Power Ranger fandom. We're like best friends. And I said, I don't know what it is, but I say these things and then they happen. And I don't really necessarily believe manifestation should be used as a business tool because people sell manifestation. I don't know if you've seen that, Mark. But, I remember telling someone at an old job of mine, I said, man, I wish I could work for like a fashion house or like jewelry or, like something fun. And like, I would just name these things and now I'm doing it.
Well, right. I mean, one of the clients based out of Texas.
Yeah.
They, they have a very strong operation.
Yeah.
And, and the thing is that you're able to sit there and have those heart-to-heart talks with those people and a lot of the clients that you have where you're basically your passion comes out. And that's the biggest thing with showing that marketing, advertising, public relations is not fat.
No.
I mean, you have to have something on board. And the thing is that if you're spending $100 a month, that's better than nothing.
Right.
But the thing is that, $100 a month can only get you so far.
Right.
I mean, it might buy you, Facebook ads and boosts on Instagram.
Yeah, I think a lot of people don't understand that perspective of, $100 on any, advertising on any platform is not enough. It's not enough to get, I think most people think if you have a Facebook page, you have a marketing plan, and that's not the case.
No.
Create content that captures your eye that, just like last night, I was working on this thing for Brendan's project, and I'm like, I was thinking of, I started off with like a simple graphic with some like cool not really clip art, but different graphics and stuff. And I just was like, I'm not getting the feel for this. And then when I had to take a walk, I'm telling you, I'm really creative, but sometimes I get like one gets stuck in the chamber and you can't really fire on it. Mm-hmm. And I was like, I went for the walk. Let me tell you something. Those nightly walks have been very revolutionary to my business, to my personal life, everything. And I was talking to my partner in crime about it, and I said, boom, I know what I want to do.
Did you take your child with you?
Oh yeah, those are our nightly walks. We usually go out and we walk around. It depends on how busy I am. If I have time to spend some time walking outside, it'll be about a 30 to 45 minute walk. Sometimes it's just a 10-minute walk and I come back and get back to work. But those walks have really always opened up the door to something else and more thinking and things like that. I don't know. I can't explain it, but yeah, I went on that walk, came back, and I made the new graphic, and Brendan's like, holy crap, this is great. And I was like, yes, thank God. I said, add your stuff to it and then we'll push it. So I think Brendan is filming a video. So everyone will see that. It'll be on the MDMC page here shortly.
Well, and that's the biggest thing is like when you get into those particular instances, you break out notepads or, I mean, I've got three stacked right here next to me, and most of the time, you have your walks. I just sit there and I'll write down, a game plan. Mm-hmm. I mean, everything that I'm doing along the line, making sure that certain things for MDMC are done, making sure and just kind of trying to divide my time, and making sure I'm actually utilizing my time right.
Right.
I mean, I'll be honest. I mean, I'll sit there, write stuff down, and I'll end up taking a nap, and I'll go back and look at it later.
Yeah,
But that's the glory. That's one of the glories of being an entrepreneur. The thing is that if you budget your time correctly, things like your marketing, your PR, your advertising will all come together.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're utilizing your time properly, I mean, it's kind of like, for example, with the collectibles business, there's been a lot of things that I've done that have changed, with your help, of course. Where there are things that I missed, and you looked at it and you ripped it to freaking shreds.
I felt so bad. I was like, no, this needs to be done because I know you're more of the PR guy, and I'm trying to turn you into a marketer, and I think it's only for the better. I'm turning you to the dark side for a reason.
Come to the dark side.
I just feel like, PR is a very valuable tool. Don't get me wrong.
It is.
I'm not talking crap about PR because that's where I got my degree out of. But there are ways you can utilize PR and marketing and unify them in a way that makes you a dynamic team, which is one of the reasons why we're here, And yeah, it sucks every now and then I'll have to tell Mark, what are you thinking? Go back here, it's like, oh, but then I'm like, wait, he doesn't know. He doesn't know. So we're gonna train and we're gonna work, and then that's the thing is like you have to be willing, and and I always thought, man, I'm gonna push this guy over the edge and he's never gonna come back. But the thing is that you have to be willing to learn to be better as an entrepreneur.
I'm glutton for punishment.
Yeah. I think that's one of the things is, and especially in marketing, the dynamic changes daily. I get newsletters every day of, hey, there's a new tactic to try on Facebook ads. Hey, try this on Snapchat. Hey, you should do this for Instagram. TikTok. I remember when TikTok was coming through around August of last year, everyone kept saying TikTok's a new thing. TikTok's a new thing. And I was like, but how do I utilize that to business? And typically you can't because it's more of a playful platform. I mean, you could if you wanted to, but I'm like, I really don't see I would need the need for doing it. And now it looks like it's going to be banned in the US. So I'm glad I did.
Actually, yeah, it's exactly right. I was just about to say that point. Our dear darling Secretary of State was like, wanting to ban a platform. And I'm kind of going like, I mean, yeah, it's China based and I've played with it. Don't get me wrong.
Oh yeah. I have one too. I look at people's TikToks all the time.
I mean, the thing is that I sit there and I look at it and I go, how can we use this? And the thing is that there's that small sliver of the market you can use it for.
Yeah.
But the other 99% of that market, you can't use it.
The only thing I thought of was I can take that to Comic Cons and we could do something fun. That was the only thought that came into my mind. I was like, I can get one of my Rangers to do a dance with me or something. But yeah.
That's about, and you know what? Yeah. That's that little sliver that it would fit into.
Yeah.
Would it fit into my collectibles business? No, it doesn't. Because I mean, I sat there and I looked at it and I'm all, I couldn't get behind it.
It's not that we're old or anything. It's just, as marketers, we were aware. We saw it coming. I knew what it was. And that's the thing is that you have to be well versed in the field, like whatever field you're in, subscribe to those professionals that talk about it, and things like that to stay on point because this especially marketing, it evolves so quickly. And so now TikTok is done.
And that's exactly right. I mean, a lot of people, especially now with COVID, the thing is that what was valid on March 1st when I got back from LAX Fan Fest to now, the ball game's changed.
So sad.
So sad. I mean, and that's, I mean, and even, I mean, when I went out to, go to LAX Fan Fest, sit at the table with you, and meet Fred. Good guy.
Great guy.
Very, just very quiet.
It's just so weird because I talk to Fred every now and then. On IG, he is very big on keto and working out. I think he looks better now than when he did when he was in the WWE. If you don't know who Fred is, his name is you'll know him from WWE as Darren Young, part of the Primetime Players with oh God, I forget his partner's name, but Darren Young. That's who we're talking about. Also known as, his real name is Fred Rosser. Darren Young is owned by WWE. So we call him Fred.
Yeah. I mean, and we'd love to have him out or even to do a private signing.
Yeah, I haven't. This is my partner in crime's birthday month. So his birthday is on the 25th. So that week will be dedicated to him. He's reading I know we were doing a post about what we're reading during quarantine, and I made a post about what he was reading, and I meant to do that for Memorial Day because he's a veteran, and I missed it. So I got stuff in the pipe. So that week will be dedicated to him. And then we're done with birthdays until yours. Mark, yours comes up in January.
Correct.
And then Lewis is in May. I'm in June. Eddie's in June, and then Jared is July, and then we're done. That's the order.
But yeah, I mean, a lot of people, realize that this. I mean, the thing is that you really have to take the feeling out of this business, out of PR, marketing, advertising. Take the feeling out of it. Yeah. Because if you don't, you're going to hurt yourself, i.e., cutting your marketing, PR, or advertising budgets.
Yeah, how do you expect to make any money? I remember because this happened to me. I got cut. I got cut due to budget, allegedly. I don't think that was the real case, but a lot of people that worked at that company said, how do they cut the money out of the business? Because everyone was like, that's a loss. We're going to, people were like, we're going to lose our jobs. Because if she's not there, that means there's no money coming into the business. And, it's kind of funny because I was not the only person in my department, but more people had more faith in me. People were calling me like, what are we going to do? And I'm like, not my problem. I don't know. Good luck. But that's what I mean is that, when you're good at what you do and you have the faith of everyone else behind you, cutting your budget to fill that for something else to, whether that's, and it kind of works like a wheel. It works like a wheel because you have your marketing, and your marketing feeds your sales, and your sales feeds your operations, and your operations feeds back into your marketing. So it's like a wheel. It's like you can't shut off one part of the wheel and hope it still runs the same. It's not gonna, because that wheel is now that much smaller, and you're not gonna get very farther cutting that part of your wheel off.
Well, and that's the big thing is that there's so many. I mean, I go look at the travel industry and aviation, for example. You have. It's not even necessary to cut the. If you cut the dead weight in the business, and I'm talking the human element.
Yeah.
Basically, if they don't want to work and help you run the business the way you want to run the business, the door's there. I'm actually pointing to the door.
Yeah. And that's the thing, though, is that, when you're in a company that functions like a machine and you see the dead weight, you're like, how in the hell does this person still have a job? Like, you contribute nothing. Nothing. And like, how in the world are you still here? And and I think owners themselves, most owners are not very smart and they're not very bright. And when they see a problem in one direction, they're like, we have to cut this off now. So that leads to impulse thinking where they're not thinking of the entire picture. You're only, and that was one thing my mentor taught me. He actually has a book that it's about sales. It says, hey, your puzzle's missing a piece. And every time I would get caught up on something at work, he's like, you're focusing on the puzzle piece. You're not looking at the big picture. And I had a very hard time grasping the big picture concept for the longest time. I would always focus. I'm like, this is a problem. This is a problem. We got to fix this now. And he's like, no, look at the big picture. How does it affect the entire thing? And I was like, oh, nothing. And I think that's what owners, especially smart owners, don't realize, is that they focus on the piece and not the entire picture. And so, and I'm pretty positive that company's not doing as great. I've heard through the grapevine, because they're not doing what they need to do. Mm-hmm. When you cut out a vital piece like that, you might as well just sever your own leg. That's basically as you can't stand without your marketing. You can't stand without it. I'm sorry. How are you supposed to get your testimonials? How are you supposed to get that referral traffic back in? How are you supposed to present that proof that you are as good as you are? There's a lot of work that goes into it. And that's the thing, is people don't understand it. Who's going to run email marketing campaigns? Who's going to make those email marketing campaigns? That reminds me, I got to do something. I gotta make a note. But it's a lot of people, a lot of owners do not think of all those things, and that's the problem. And that's why the budgets aren't padded the way they should be.
Exactly. I mean, and the thing is that, I mean, yeah, if you, even in the line of COVID, you have to cut your marketing. Just don't
sever it.
Don't sever it altogether.
Right.
And trust me, for this particular client to just have severed it, mm-hmm. I'm incredibly grateful that I still have something.
Right. And I've been trying to support you with likes and stuff, because I see it. It's just, these are tough times, and I get it. There are people right now that probably don't have the funds to carry on with a marketing budget. We get that, but don't sever the entire thing, because you're just going to kill yourself. You might as well just shut the door on your business right now. Just shut them. If you're going to do that, there's no even reason for you to be around.
I mean, the thing is that you have to be able to pivot with the times. And the thing is that if you can't pivot, and the thing is with this business, with everything that's gone on since March 1st, and I kind of say March 1st because basically after that, the world just came to kind of a halt.
Right.
And the thing is that with those, to me, I sit here and I think, I go back to thinking of when I was sitting in LAX on March 1st, mm-hmm. and waiting for my flight back.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, I was like, this is not going to turn out very well.
Right.
I mean, and you just had that sick feeling in your stomach, and you're just like, your gut was telling you.
Remember at LAX Fan Fest, I had these. What the hell are these called? These hand sanitizers.
Yeah.
And we had people flying in from Indonesia to be there. And I had these pens sitting on the table. I'm like, I gave one to, what's his name? The real one. Enzo. I was like, look. I'm like, because we don't know what's going to happen. Like, everyone be safe. And like, I just thought this was going to be something that goes away in a couple months. And here we are in July, halfway through July, which I don't know how time has flown. I guess because we're so busy, it feels like a normal year, except without the traveling and stuff. Like I was telling my partner in crime, this is the most time I've spent at home. I was gone at least every month or something.
That's true. I mean, and I would sit there and I'd look at your shared schedule, and I'm just like, I look at your shared schedule like right after March 1st, and mm-hmm. It was just like full.
Wiped clean. Yeah, there was so much. I was supposed to be in Boston in March 15th. I was supposed to be out there for a show. Canceled. I was supposed to be in Australia in April and come back home through the path of Alaska. I had one more stop in Alaska and then come back home. And then I was going to be in San Antonio in June. I was going to be in Albuquerque in August. Power Morphicon in September. Rhode Island in November. It was boom, 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 and then it just
the brakes got applied. I mean, and that's the biggest thing is that with any business, keeping the marketing flowing in some fashion.
Right.
I mean, the thing is if you don't know how to do it, you got to outsource it.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing is that, like I said, doing or utilizing business, and ironically, speaking of business, I actually had someone on Twitter ask me a question about if a particular item I posted was mine.
No.
So,
all right, we'll wrap it up then.
Yeah, we got it. Well, we definitely,
We've got things to do. I actually had to send an email out to my team to do something for me. But yeah, let's talk about next week. Next week's topic will be how to find a product or service to start a business. And I know we kind of touched on it here, but we really want to go in depth as to how do you get to that point. I think Mark and I have found our passions and have turned it into businesses, and so we're gonna dive deep into that next week. I'm excited.
Yeah, we're gonna take it. We're gonna throw ourselves in the deep end and talk about it.
Yeah, that's awesome. All right, well, thank you, everybody. Please don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel.
Like it.
It's funny. I posted that thing about voice actors. I had 56 comments, but none of you have subscribed to my YouTube channel. So subscribe, and then don't forget to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, LinkedIn. Follow our company page, and and don't forget, if you have any other topics that you want us to cover, put it in the comments below. Please do. Comments. We love comments. Yeah. We got a really cool guy. Speaking of comments, we got a really cool guy on YouTube was like, hey, I ran into your channel and I love it and I'm subscribing. And I was like, yay. Exciting. And and we salute them, We appreciate you. Yeah, definitely. So on that note, like, subscribe, check out the channel, give us a thumbs up. See you soon. See you. Bye.